What's up, everybody? Really appreciate you watching this week's episode of Making the Donuts. If you noticed, we missed the last couple weeks. It wasn't because we weren't doing anything. It wasn't because we're quitting or anything like that, as I had some folks reach out to me like, oh, it must not be working because you're not doing it. No, not at all. The man behind the camera there got diagnosed with COVID-19, so he was completely out of commission the last couple weeks. So what you're about to see is not our normal type vlog where it's chronological as to how things happen. This is going to be a Frankenstein together version of some awesome footage. Really hope you enjoy it. Thanks. What?
We have a new little video.
Okay, where's it at?
You
gotta go to the videos.
Gotta come into the studio.
I haven't seen it yet.
All right, fellas. So, how's the week going? How's everybody's production?
Getting in the habit of doing it, and the consistency is the big thing. You know, that's the people that I was talking to a lady yesterday who has a similar business that I'm doing with this content stuff, but she does it for another industry. And she was like, she's struggling because she's not consistent, and it's but you just have to make it a priority. I'll give you an example of that post I posted on Instagram yesterday. I was going to post it and it was 3 o'clock, so I look at my analytics and 3 o'clock on a Sunday is a really low time for the number of followers I have online. Well, then 6 p.m. was like way up, so I was like, I'm going to post this at 6, so I set an alarm on my phone. You just have to do those little things to make it a priority. Prior to Hurricane Sally, we had a 0% loss ratio on this book. We've had a few losses from Sally, obviously. SEO is hard, man, because to me, I look at SEO marketing, like hiring a marketing company for SEO, like I look at boxing, right? You and I could watch a boxing match. There's no scoring system for boxing. It's all these judges, and it's basically, in my opinion, it's their opinion, So the problem with SEO is what's the metric for success? It's hard. You know what I mean? And SEO is even a more long-term thing than what we're doing with the content, That was my strategy back when I was selling life insurance. I would just try to because when life insurance sales, people cancel on you all the time. And because they're like, oh yeah, life insurance sounds like a great idea. And then they wake up that morning and the wife tells the husband they have to meet with a life insurance guy that day. And so my strategy was I would get so many meetings that I couldn't, almost physically couldn't make every one of them. That way when one canceled, I was relieved and it wasn't a negative, So that was kind of my deal, but not doing that anymore. So versus corporate, a lot of things are done for you. And there's, it really depends on you and your personality. Like me, that would never work. I can never, I want to be able to say, hey, this is what vendor we are using for this, and hey, this is what we're doing for this. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a ton of headache that comes with that, and a ton of responsibility because the buck stops right here. If that program doesn't work, I can't blame it on somebody else. It's my fault, And then there's some people that they don't want to make all those decisions. They would rather have those decisions made for them and stick a key in the lock, turn it, and everything is provided to them. Now, I'm not saying that that's not hard and not difficult to do and you don't have decisions as a business owner to captivate. I'm not saying that at all. It's just different. The two best ways I know to grow in a niche, and in this case, the niche is going to be your community, okay, is to either A, start a podcast for that niche or for that community, or B, find another podcast and buy ad dollars on that. Obviously, you guys are going with option one, Here's the way I would approach it. And I'm picking up that one of the big questions right now with you guys is, do we talk about insurance or do we not, based on what you said a second ago, right? I'm of the belief that the longer you can go without pitching your product on a podcast, the more of your product you're going to sell, because what's going to happen, the reason that my insurance podcast has so many listeners is because we don't really sell any products outside of promoting a sponsor every now and then. therefore our audience knows that they're getting the real deal Holyfield advice from us, you know? And what it does is it leads to a larger listener base, which then the math just works out that more people are going to inquire. You know what I mean? So if I were you guys, if you can't find the perfect like sweet spot of talking about insurance, I would default to, hey, we're not going to mention insurance enough, but we're going to build a really solid bond with our listenership and our audience. Okay?
On what?
We have a new little video.
Okay, where's it at?
In
You gotta
here.
go to the videos.
Gotta come to the studio.
I haven't seen it yet.
All right, fellas. So how's the week going? How's everybody's production doing?
So what we did today while the big boss man was gone, we just kind of, hung out.
That's great.
We've been sitting on a lot of that footage for like weeks.
Was that? Like, and I would too, like, hey dads, remember that old school arcade? Well, that still exists now. It's called Vader's Fortress.
Yeah.
You come, every dad that brings a kid gets X% off or something to that effect.
Yeah.
And the dad's like, wait a minute, I can kill two birds with one stone.
Right.
I can have my little nostalgia experience, and my kids can play. I'm like, honey, I'm taking the kids,
Yeah.
but really, like, I want to
Yeah,
go. It's
I'll
like
go.
the whole like dad that takes the kid to the driving range thing. It's
Well,
like,
yeah.
it's quality time with the kid, but dad really wants to go too. We need to start doing it at the beginning of the day. I remember some of those early days in sales, just like being physically and mentally exhausted at the end of the day. And what I would do is I would do two things. One is I would be so because I was also young too. I mean, I was 21 years old selling insurance, and it was more on the financial services side of insurance, life insurance, health insurance, accident, supplement, like that, Aflac type stuff. So it was a little bit more serious conversation than auto and home insurance and business insurance we do now. And I was 21 years old and probably looked like I was 12. And so I made sure to be over prepared for each appointment. I knew the spouse's name. I knew their dates of birth. I knew what products they needed. If they asked this question, I would do this and da-da-da-da-da. So I've always, people have asked me like, do you ever feel like your age is a disadvantage? I'm like, no. Like, I've literally never felt one time in my career that somebody didn't buy from me because of my age. And it was because I knew my stuff. You know what I mean? I was over prepared. But then also, I loved the fact of being a business professional as I pull on my lapels, right? I liked that. And so I kind of let the love for what I was doing overshadow a little bit kind of some of the fear. So the bottom line is you just got to get over it. And one of my mentors at the time, who was big on cold calling on the phones, was like, look, they're not going to kill you. Like, nobody's going to jump through the phone and kill you.
Yeah.
So you're okay, you know? And he kind of taught me just to have fun with it. And what I would do, and I still do this to this day sometimes, and I don't make many cold calls anymore, but if I'm on a sales call and the person hangs up on me, I'll say, all right then, good to talk to you too. Or I'll hang up or something like, like reference, like
make a joke of it or something.
But stay in the sales voice, and everybody around you thinks it's hilarious, and it becomes like this game,